Welcome to The Deep Dive, the show where we cut through all the noise to bring you, well, the really impactful stuff. And today we're really excited. We're focusing on the Psychology of Money podcast because we're tackling something huge. It's the treat yourself economy, a behavioral breakdown of modern consumerism. Now, so our mission today, it's pretty clear. Think of us as your guides through this whole modern spending maze. We know a lot of you, especially younger folks, are figuring this stuff out, maybe without a ton of financial background. Our goal, pull out the key insights, give you some practical tips you can actually use, and, understand the why behind our spending. And hopefully have a little fun doing it. We want you walking away feeling informed, but also empowered.
Yeah.
Like you can make smarter choices.
Absolutely. And this conversation, it's just so incredibly relevant right now, isn't it? I mean, we're living in this time where our money decisions, they're not just about logic. They're tangled up with psychology, society, even our emotions. And that line, the one between what we actually need and what we just want, maybe calling it self-care or saying, I deserve it, it's getting really blurry. So understanding these behaviors, recognizing the little nudges, the patterns, it's not just like an academic thing. It's really the first absolutely essential step towards feeling better financially, finding, real contentment, and building a future you actually want.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The whole treat yourself idea, it's everywhere, right? You hear it constantly, see it scrolling Instagram, friends mention it, maybe you even say it to yourself after a rough day. But what does it actually mean today? Beyond just, buying something nice or getting that instant fix.
Yeah.
What's the psychology behind it?
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, maybe even a little concerning, is how that phrase, treat yourself, it kind of glamorizes spending. Maybe spending more than you should or just buying on impulse. It makes it seem normal even, like good for you. It shifts the focus subtly away from saving for later and towards that immediate hit, that instant gratification. Spend now, feel good now. And this taps right into something deep in us, We're hardwired for immediate pleasure. Our brains love that instant reward. But that clashes so often with the long-term wisdom of saving, investing, delaying gratification. It's like this constant battle inside. Your present self wants the treat now. Your future self is hoping for stability. And, well, in today's world, the present self wins a lot.
Oh, I definitely feel that internal tug of war. Yeah. And it's not always big stuff, is it? It's those small, frequent things that, like you said, get glorified. I bet this sounds familiar to you listening right now. Apparently for Gen Z, impulse buys are often like sweet and savory treats, cookies, chocolate, that kind of thing. Or maybe products for self-care and beauty, face masks, lotions. It's the daily fancy coffee, the Uber Eats when you're tired, that gadget you saw online, or, that top that's on sale. Each one feels small, harmless. But you add them up week after week, month after month. That's where it really hits your finances, right? Mm-hmm. Does that resonate? It definitely does for me sometimes.
Exactly. And while the way it looks now with apps and instant everything feels really modern, the actual idea of people debating spending habits, critiquing consumerism, that's not new at all. If you zoom out, you find people arguing about how much is too much, which kinds of spending are okay or ethical or right, for centuries, maybe even millennia. Societies have always wrestled with this. How do we define what's acceptable? How do we manage it? Sometimes even restrict it.
That's such a great point. Puts it in perspective. So it's an old argument, just with like new technology driving it. Can you give us some examples from way back? I've heard about sumptuary laws. Those sound wild.
Oh, they were. Sumptuary laws are a perfect example. Think ancient Greece, ancient Rome. These weren't just suggestions. They were actual laws saying what you could and couldn't consume based on your social rank. It wasn't about affording it. It was about what society said was appropriate for your station. Like if you were just a regular citizen, certain fancy fabrics, certain dyes, specific foods, nope, not allowed, even if you had the money. It was all about making the social hierarchy visible, clear boundaries. Or, get this, in 18th century Germany, quote, only the nobility was allowed to wear swords in public.
Swords? Wow.
Yeah, imagine that. A simple accessory legally marking your status. It's such a stark contrast to today, where theoretically anyone with the cash can buy almost anything. The lines are way blurrier now.
Swords in public. Incredible. So people were literally told what they could own and show off.
Yeah.
It really does make our modern dilemmas like, should I get the new iPhone? Is this designer bag too much? Seem, different. We might feel judged, sure, or judge ourselves, but it's rarely illegal.
Right. And historically, people worried a lot about others living above their station. You'd hear debates about new luxuries. Is too much coffee bad? Are people eating too many sweets? These new things, they felt disruptive. They challenged the old ways, the social order, and people use language to frame it, calling spending refinement if they approved or extravagant if they didn't. The words might change. Extravagant becomes glamorized spending. But that core worry about too much consumption, what it means for society, for the individual, it's remarkably consistent. It seems our human nature around spending and arguing about spending is pretty timeless.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. If arguing about consumption and, the urge to splurge isn't new, what makes today's treat yourself culture feel so intense, so unavoidable, so different? What's pushing it into overdrive right now?
Yeah, that's the key question. It's really the amplification effect. Modern tech, modern marketing, our always-on digital lives, they've put it on steroids. Think about it. Marketing today isn't just a billboard everyone sees. No, it's hyper-focused. It uses your data, your behavior. We're talking about those super effective push notifications from Uber Eats or Amazon, right? Popping up exactly when you might be feeling hungry or bored or stressed.
Outrageously effective.
Totally. They tempt you with that instant fix. And then there's the endless product pushing on social media. Algorithms know what you like, maybe better than you do sometimes. And all this exposure creates this massive FOMO, the fear of missing out, which is just this incredibly powerful psychological trigger for spending. You see everyone else, friends, strangers, living these seemingly perfect lives, buying cool stuff, going places, and you feel this pull, this urge to keep up.
Right. You scroll your feed, see the latest phone, the perfect vacation shot, the spotless living room, and suddenly your own life feels a bit. You start thinking, hey, maybe I deserve that too. And it's not just about what they have. It's about how what we buy becomes part of our story, right? It's that idea of consumption as identity.
Exactly. That's a crucial piece. What we own, what we wear, the brands we pick, even the brunch we post about, it all becomes a way we broadcast who we are or who we want to be. What we value, our status, perceived or real. Think about how advertising has changed. Go back to like an 1898 Sears catalog.
Right, just facts.
Yeah. Product specs, thread count, dimensions, materials, just the facts. Today, advertising is all about narrative. It tells a story about who you could be if you bought this thing, how it fits your values, how it'll make your life better, make you better. They're selling an identity of feeling, belonging, not just, a pair of shoes.
So it's less about the thing itself, more about the lifestyle it represents, the image. Even if you're trying to be like an ethical consumer, say you choose 2MS shoes over Nike because of their mission, that's still consumption as identity, isn't it? You're signaling your values, your awareness through your purchase, kind to others, maybe even just to yourself. It's a sophisticated game.
It absolutely is. And the key takeaway here for you listening is just to be aware of this. Be aware that these urges to treat yourself, to buy into a certain image, they're often heavily influenced by outside forces, marketing, social media, what your friends are doing. It's not always coming purely from you. Recognizing that influence, understanding the mechanics, that's the first critical step. It helps you regain control, make choices that actually serve your authentic self, not just some image somebody sold you. It's about being an active player in your own financial life, not just a target.
Okay, so we've got this intense marketing, all this social pressure.
Yeah.
What does it actually do to our decision-making? Are we really making logical choices with our money? Or are there these hidden psychological forces pushing us towards those treat-yourself buys, sometimes against our better judgment?
Yeah.
It honestly feels like my wallet has a mind of its own sometimes, especially after a really draining day.
You're hitting on the core idea of behavioral economics there. It's a really fascinating field. Basically, it studies how psychological stuff, our biases, our emotions, social factors, how all that actually influences the decisions people and even institutions make. The main idea is that these factors often make our choices, well, different from what traditional economics predicts. Traditional theory assumes we're always perfectly rational.
Which we're clearly not.
Exactly. Behavioral economics just acknowledges that we're human. Our wants, our feelings, our limited attention, the people around us, they all play a huge, often irrational role in how we handle money.
Okay, so behavioral economics basically says we're messy humans, not robots.
Yeah.
I get that. You mentioned bounded rationality. Can you give us a more everyday analogy for that? Because optimal choice, given available information, that sounds like a supercomputer, not me trying to decide between takeout and cooking when I'm wiped out.
Yeah, fair enough. A good way to think about bounded rationality is like this. Imagine you're trying to navigate a really complicated maze, but it's dark, and your flashlight only shows a tiny patch right in front of you. Oh, and you're also on a timer.
Okay, stressful.
Right. So our decision-making is bounded or limited by three main things. One, the problem itself is often super complex, like choosing investments, that's complicated. Two, our own cognitive limits. We just can't process all the information. Our memory isn't perfect. Our willpower fades. And three, the time we have. We often need to decide now. So because we can't possibly weigh every single option perfectly, we take shortcuts, mental shortcuts or heuristics. They're like little rules of thumb, cognitive hacks to decide faster. Efficient, yes, but they often lead to choices that aren't actually the best, like always grabbing that easy, expensive takeout because you're tired and your brain just wants the path of least resistance, even if cooking is cheaper and healthier.
Ah, the shortcuts. Okay, that makes total sense. And yeah, those shortcuts can definitely lead us down the wrong path financially. So what are some specific cognitive biases, these like sneaky mental traps that really fuel the treat yourself thing today?
Oh, there are several big ones, and they often kind of team up on us. Let's start with recency bias. This is basically believing something is more likely or more justified just because it happened recently. So in the treat yourself context, it sounds like, ugh, I just had the worst week at work, my boss was a nightmare, therefore I totally deserve this new gadget right now.
Yep, been there.
Or maybe, yes, I finished that huge project, therefore I'm treating myself to that expensive dinner I've been wanting. Your recent experience, good or bad, becomes the main reason for an immediate reward. And it often just steamrolls right over your budget or your long-term plan.
I feel slightly called out. I definitely use the terrible week excuse. Guilty. So our brain just goes, you earned this comfort right now. Forget the budget. What's another one?
Okay, how about confirmation bias? This is a big one. It's our natural tendency to look for and prefer information that confirms what we already believe. And we tend to ignore or downplay stuff that contradicts our beliefs. So, say you're thinking about a treat-yourself purchase, maybe a new gaming console. You'll unconsciously start seeking out reviews that rave about it, social media posts showing people loving it, ads highlighting the cool features.
Right, you look for the good stuff.
Exactly. And you'll probably just skim past or rationalize away the reviews talking about the high price or how you might not use it much. You essentially build this little echo chamber that just validates your desire to buy it. Your brain helps you convince yourself.
That's so sneaky. Like having your own internal hype man working against your savings account. What about just sticking with what you know, even if it costs more?
That's familiarity bias. It's exactly that. Sticking to what's familiar and comfortable, even if, objectively, it's not the best or cheapest option. Think about that coffee shop you always go to, even though it's a bit pricey, or the delivery app you always use. You might tell yourself it's better quality or easier, but often it's just because it's familiar, it's easy. It doesn't require the mental energy to find a cheaper alternative. The comfort of the known often beats the potential savings of trying something new. And then there's the narrative fallacy. Our brains love stories. We're wired to connect things, even unrelated things, into a coherent narrative to make sense of the world. So with spending, it might sound like this. I've been working so hard lately, putting in crazy hours, therefore buying this expensive gadget going on this weekend trip will magically fix everything and make my life perfect.
The magic fix purchase.
Exactly. You create this compelling story in your head that links your effort to this purchase, providing some grand solution or reward. Even if logically the connection is pretty weak, it just feels good emotionally. It justifies the spend.
Oh, that's a dangerous one. We all love a good story, especially if we're the hero who deserves a prize. And you mentioned herding behavior earlier. How does that fit into the treat yourself picture?
Yeah, herding behavior is critical, especially now. It's our tendency to just follow the crowd, to do what everyone else is doing, often without really thinking it through ourselves. For young adults, social media makes this incredibly powerful. If everyone on your feed seems to be buying the same trendy clothes or using the same new tech gadget or visiting the same sex destination, there's this immense psychological pressure to join in.
Keeping up with the Joneses, but like globally.
Exactly. Even if it doesn't fit your budget or even if you don't really want it deep down. Research, especially looking at investors, shows that young investors who often exhibit low financial literacy are particularly prone to herding in their financial choices. It's a huge factor.
Wow. So if everyone I follow online is getting the latest phone or that viral skincare thing, it's just incredibly easy to feel like I should too. It really does feel like our brains are almost wired to keep us spending, or at least wired to follow the herd. It makes me wonder, Are these biases even worse right now with the economy feeling so uncertain for so many young people?
That's a really sharp insight. And yes, they absolutely can be amplified by uncertainty, which leads us right into another pretty significant and honestly concerning trend: doom spending. This is a newer term, but it really captures a feeling that resonates with a lot of young adults today. It reflects this deep financial anxiety and sometimes, yeah, a feeling of hopelessness about the future.
Doom spending. Wow, the name itself says a lot. It sounds exactly like how people feel. What's the sort of core idea behind it?
The core message is really one of, well, hopelessness, often stemming from feeling overwhelmed by the economic situation. Many young people look at things like the cost of housing, student debt, inflation, and they genuinely feel like they'll never reach those big financial goals. Buying a house, retiring comfortably, it feels impossible.
So why bother saving?
Exactly. The thinking becomes, well, what's the point? The system feels rigged anyway. And this mindset fuels what's been called the fuck it expense. It's a way to kind of self-soothe, to grab a tiny moment of pleasure or control right now. It's like trying to enjoy a little speck of the financial stability that maybe previous generations seem to have easier access to. It's really a coping mechanism, grabbing immediate pleasure when the long term feels out of reach. It's quite sad, actually, reflecting the pressure.
And that ties right into this pervasive financial anxiety
Yeah.
hitting young adults. It's not just a little worry, is it? It sounds like a major stressor for a huge number of people.
It really is. A survey found that a massive 59%, nearly 6 out of 10 young adults aged 18 to 40, report feeling financially anxious. This isn't some small niche group. It's the majority feeling this weight. And if you look closer, the types of anxiety shift a bit with age, but the pressure is constant.
Right. So for Gen Z, the 18 to 24 group, the biggest worry is insufficient income and shoot toward job uncertainty. Makes sense. They're starting out. That hit 23% of them. But for millennials, 25 to 40, debt burden becomes more prominent. That affected around 18 to 22% in that bracket. It paints this picture of like different stages of financial stress first, struggling to earn enough, then maybe struggling under the weight of past borrowing.
Precisely. And what's really worrying is that the anxiety itself can mess with your decision-making. It creates this negative loop. Often, people who are more financially anxious actually spend less time dealing with their finances. They avoid it because it feels bad.
Which makes it worse.
Exactly. It becomes this self-perpetuating cycle. You're anxious, so you avoid it. The problem gets bigger. Maybe you make more suboptimal choices, and the anxiety just ramps up. Breaking that cycle takes real effort. Facing those uncomfortable feelings and also understanding you are definitely not alone in feeling this way.
Okay, let's bring this down to earth, the real-world impact. For young adults trying to navigate this treat-yourself world with all these psychological traps, what are the most common money mistakes people make, especially in their 20s? And how does this whole culture make those mistakes maybe worse or easier to fall into? Because your 20s are such a crucial time, right?
Oh, absolutely. Your 20s are incredibly transformative. So much happens: finishing school, first real job, maybe moving out. And during this time, getting a handle on your finances, what we call financial literacy, understanding how to earn, manage, invest, save. It's not just nice to have, it's critical. It lays a foundation for your whole future. But yeah, the treat yourself mentality, it throws constant temptations your way that can really worsen common mistakes, potentially setting you back for years. The first big one, maybe the most basic, is simply not budgeting. If you don't have a plan for your money, you're just reacting, you're flying blind. And that leads directly to impulsive spending because there are no guardrails, no defined limits for different things. Every little treat yourself urge can become an overspend because you haven't actually allocated money for fun versus essentials versus savings. It's so easy to tell yourself, oh, I can afford this, when really you're chipping away at savings or racking up debt without realizing it.
And the credit score. So many young people, myself included back then, probably didn't think much about it. Until you suddenly need it for a loan or an apartment, and then, whoops, it feels like this weird, mysterious number.
It really does, but it's so important. Neglecting your credit score is a huge mistake, and the damage can be silent for a while, then hit you hard. It's not just a number. It's basically a reflection of how responsible and trustworthy you appear with money. A good score gets you better interest rates on loans, car loans, mortgages down the line, even small personal loans. That saves you real money. It affects renting apartments, insurance rates, even, believe it or not, some job applications, especially in finance. A bad score, though. It throws up these invisible roadblocks, loans cost more, applications get denied. It really limits your options for years.
Okay, and what about work benefits? Sometimes you get that huge packet on day one, and it's so overwhelming, full of jargon, it feels easier just to ignore it.
That is such a common and costly mistake. overlooking employee benefits. These aren't just little perks. They have real, significant long-term value.
Yeah.
They can seriously impact your financial health. People often don't fully understand or use things like their health insurance properly, which can save you from massive medical debt, or they miss out on upskilling opportunities the company pays for, which could boost your future earnings, or wellness programs that save you money elsewhere. And the big one, retirement contributions, things like a 401k, especially if your employer matches your contribution.
Free money.
Literally free money. Not taking advantage of that is leaving serious cash on the table, cash that could be growing for your future retirement.
And finally, the elephant in the room, debt. Especially now, with all the buy now, pay later stuff everywhere. It feels ridiculously easy to slide into high-interest debt, often without even realizing how much it's truly costing you.
It is frighteningly easy. Accumulating high-interest debts, usually credit cards, maybe some predatory loans, is a major trap. These things come with tempting offers, right? Instant gratification, that immediate treat-yourself feeling. But the hidden cost is brutal. Sky-high interest rates that can trap you in debt for years, maybe even decades. You have to understand, every single purchase you make on credit, if you don't pay it off right away, in full, it costs more than the sticker price. The interest piles up fast, making small treats incredibly expensive over time. And that treat yourself impulse, it feeds right into this. Buy now, feel good now, worry about the magnified costs later. It's a really tough cycle to break. And if we look at the bigger picture, the burden of debt. Sources show that millennials and Gen Z, they've really been hit hard by recent economic stuff. It's led to more debt, more financial anxiety right across these generations. The pandemic, for example, really left a lasting scar on finances for many.
Yeah, and the stats really drive it home, don't they? It's not just feelings, it's numbers. One survey found 37% of young adults said their debt increased since the pandemic started. That's more than a third. And almost 4 out of 10, 38% had trouble just covering daily expenses. Nearly a third, 29%, were saving less. These aren't just stats on a page. This is real life for so many people listening right now. Real struggles.
Absolutely, and the data digs deeper. Nearly half, 48%, felt their debt was actually stopping them from tackling other financial goals, like saving for a house or retirement. And a really worrying 40% said their debt felt unmanageable. Interestingly, or maybe concerningly, the 25 to 31 age groups seem to be hit hardest by debt's impact. We hear average credit card debt figures maybe around $7,000 per household, but remember, averages can be skewed by a few people with massive debt. The median, the middle number, might get a better sense of the typical load, but either way, it's a huge anxiety-inducing weight for countless young adults.
All these challenges, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Makes me wonder anyway. Did older generations just have better money habits, or was their economic world just fundamentally different? Was it actually easier back then? We hear these stories, buying a house on one income. It sounds like a fairy tale now.
It's complicated. It's a lot of different things, not just one simple answer. It's not necessarily that one generation was inherently better with money. There were major differences in the structure of the economy and society. For starters, older generations generally had less things to spend money on, just fewer choices, fewer categories of stuff to buy.
No streaming services, no constant phone upgrades.
Exactly. No endless food delivery apps. Plus, money had different spending power. Inflation is real. What a dollar bought in, say, 1960 is way different than today. And maybe importantly, people were often satisfied with less. That constant pressure we feel now from marketing, from social media, it just wasn't there in the same way. That combination created a totally different playing field for making financial decisions.
That makes a ton of sense. Let's put some numbers on it just to illustrate. Like in the 1960s, average income was maybe $6,900, average house price, around $20,200. So roughly 3 times income. Compare that to today. Sometimes a down payment costs more than a whole house did in the 70s. And think about bills. Back then, no cell plans or internet fees every month. TV was mostly free, way fewer subscription services eating into your budget. It really was a different financial landscape, just in terms of unavoidable costs, little on wants.
Totally. And beyond just expenses, getting credit was harder, too. It was limited. You didn't just rack up multiple credit cards easily. People used layaway. More often you paid things off before taking them home. Built-in delayed gratification, and a huge factor. Pensions, they were much more common. That was like automatic savings, often provided by your employer. That's a hugely helpful thing. That's way less common now. In our world of 401ks and gig work, these structural things definitely made saving and building wealth a different ballgame back then, but We have to be careful not to over-romanticize it. We need to avoid survivorship bias. We mostly hear the success stories, right? The grandparents who bought a cheap house and retired well. But financial mistakes, financial illiteracy, oh yeah, that was definitely around in older generations too. They
Yeah.
absolutely overspent. They kept up with their version of the Joneses. They missed payments. Credit cards did exist back then, remember. Visa started in the late 50s. The basic human stuff. Wanting status, impulsive urges, struggling with budgets, that's not new. It's the context, the environment around us that's changed so dramatically.
Okay, so the human tendencies are pretty constant, but the world we're navigating now has this unique, amplified set of challenges and temptations. And there's another huge problem that maybe wasn't as big or urgent before, this issue of disposability, waste,
Yeah.
which ties right back into consumer culture.
Yes, this is a critical point. It goes beyond just your personal bank account. It's a global issue. Our modern way of consuming has created this massive trash crisis. Americans alone made like 254 million tons of trash back in 2013, and it's only gotten worse. We have this passing relationship with objects now. We're so disconnected from how they're made, where they end up. It leads to a kind of ambivalence. Think about all the disposable stuff. Coffee lids, plastic forks, single-use containers, fast fashion clothes worn twice, phones designed to be replaced quickly.
It's everywhere.
It really is. It's all designed for convenience, for that quick treat. And being able to just toss it gives us this weird sense of control and power. We don't have to deal with the long-term responsibility of owning it, or so we think. But financially, this constant cycle of buy, use, discard, it's a huge waste of resources for us individually and for the planet collectively.
Okay. So we've laid out the challenges, the pressures, the psychological traps, the temptations, the real anxieties. How do we fight back? How do we actually take control and make smarter choices, choices that serve our well-being? How do we really treat ourselves without ending up broke, guilty, or buried under a pile of disposable junk?
That is the crucial question, isn't it? And the answer really starts with developing a key skill, mastering delayed gratification. It's basically the wisdom, the ability to put off those immediate, fleeting pleasures in favor of bigger, better, longer-term gains. It's tough, really tough in a world built for instant rewards, but it's absolutely essential if you want lasting financial well-being and, honestly, deeper contentment. It takes conscious effort, like building a muscle. You have to practice overriding that immediate impulse.
Mastering delayed gratification. Okay, sounds like a superpower we all need. What are some actual practical things we can start doing today to build that muscle, to spend more mindfully?
All right, practical steps. Foundational one, intentional budgeting. Like Morningstar suggests aiming to put at least 20% of your income towards future goals, savings, investments. This isn't about starving yourself, it's about being deliberate. Making saving a priority, something that happens first, not just with whatever's left over. And to do that, you need to know where your money is going. So start by tracking every single expense, coffee, bills, subscriptions, everything.
The scary part.
It can be, but it's necessary. Categorize it. Look at it at least once a month. Use budgeting apps. There are tons out there, like Mint, YNOB, or even just a spreadsheet. Get those visuals. Automate where you can. Knowing where the money goes is the first step to telling it where you want it to go, instead of just wondering where it vanished.
Okay, get that budget map. Makes sense. But the temptations are still out there hitting us all the time.
Yeah.
How do we reduce that constant pull?
Good point. Next tip. Limit your exposure to those temptations. This means consciously avoiding the situations or places where you know you're vulnerable. Maybe it's turning off push notifications from shopping apps. Definitely unfollowing social media accounts that just make you feel like you need more stuff. Unsubscribe from those marketing emails.
Oh, the unsubscribe button is powerful.
So powerful. Maybe it's just not wandering through the mall or browsing online stores when you don't actually need something specific. You know the old saying, out of sight, out of mind? It actually works pretty well here. Fewer triggers means it's easier to stick to your plan.
Okay, avoid the triggers. I like it. But what about when the impulse hits anyway? You're staring at the buy now button. What then?
Ah, yes. That's where the pause principle comes in. You need to create space. Take a deliberate, mandatory pause between thinking about buying something and actually doing it. For small stuff, maybe give yourself an hour. For bigger things, a day, a week, maybe even 30 days. Use that pause to ask, is this a real need or just a fleeting want? Does it fit my budget? Does it align with my bigger goals? Honestly, just that moment of reflection is often incredibly effective. The urge fades, you realize it wasn't essential. People call it the 24-hour rule for smaller buys, maybe a 30-day rule for bigger ones. It works.
That's a great practical tool, the cooling off period. And look, it's not about never treating yourself right. It's about being smart about it.
Exactly. Which leads to the next point. Have a dedicated spoil yourself budget. Complete deprivation. That usually doesn't work long term. It leads to burnout or rebellion, so plan for it. Allocate a specific guilt-free amount within your overall budget just for those little luxuries, those treats. This lets you enjoy things without wrecking your progress or feeling like you're constantly battling yourself. It brings the treats into a responsible system.
I love that. Giving yourself permission, but within boundaries.
Smart.
And our community online on Reddit had a brilliant super couple tip related to this, the wish list strategy.
Oh yeah, the wish list trick is great. So simple, so effective. When you get that urge to buy something, especially online, don't put it in your cart. Put it on a wish list instead. One person said, 90% of the time I go back and look at that list later and delete everything.
Wow.
Right? It just gives you that built-in cooling off period. You see later, if it was a real desire or just an impulse triggered by an ad or a mood, it's a really low-effort way to practice that pause principle.
These are awesome for managing the day-to-day. But step back. What are the bigger, concrete actions young adults should take now to build that really strong, lasting financial foundation, beyond just dodging impulse buys?
Right, the bigger picture. It comes back to that bedrock, financial literacy. Equipping yourself with the knowledge to earn, manage, invest, and save effectively throughout your life. Let's break down some key actions.
Okay, so beyond the daily budget, where do we start building that long-term financial muscle?
First, reinforce what we just said. Master budgeting and tracking. Seriously. Know every dollar, use the tools, review it regularly. That awareness is non-negotiable. It's step 0.
Got it. Transparency first. Then how do we actually ensure we save for the future, not just spend less today?
This is golden rule territory. Pay yourself first. Set it up so a portion of every paycheck, maybe that 20% target, maybe less to start, but something goes directly into savings or investments automatically.
Before you can touch it.
Exactly. Set up automatic transfers. If the money never lands in your main checking account, you're way less likely to spend it, less likely to even miss it. It takes willpower out of the savings equation.
And building credit. It feels like that catch-22. You need credit to get credit. How can young adults approach that smartly?
It can feel tricky, but it's definitely doable. Strategically build credit. Focus on paying all your bills on time, not just credit cards. Utilities, rent, everything. Be mindful with borrowing. Use credit cards, sure, but ideally only for things you can pay off in full each month. Avoid carrying balances and paying interest. Check your credit report regularly. You get free ones. Look for errors and maybe responsibly diversify a bit. A small loan paid back consistently or a secured credit card to start can help build that positive history over time. A good score is a powerful asset down the road.
We mentioned overlooking work benefits earlier. What specifically should people really zoom in on there?
Definitely maximize those employee benefits. Dive into that packet. Understand your health insurance coverage saves you from potential disaster. Look for tuition reimbursement or training programs. Investing in your skills pays off. But number 1, retirement contributions, especially that 401k employer match.
Don't leave free money on the table.
Never. It's the closest thing to guaranteed returns you'll find. Maximize that match if you possibly can. It's turbocharging your future savings.
And for people maybe already struggling with debt, maybe from past treat-yourself moments, what's the most important step?
If you're carrying high-interest debt, tackling it has to be priority number 1. Full stop. Recognize how much those crazy interest rates on credit cards or payday loans are costing you. It's a massive drag. Get aggressive about paying it down. Look into methods like the debt snowball, paying off the smallest debts first for motivation, or the debt avalanche, tackling the highest interest rates first to save the most money. Pick one and stick to it. Every dollar you throw at high-interest debt is like earning a huge guaranteed return because you're stopping those future interest payments.
Finally, the start investing early advice. We hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But it can feel intimidating, right? Like it's only for rich people or you need huge amounts to start.
That's such a common myth and it holds so many people back. The truth is, start investing early, even if it's tiny amounts. Seriously, $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever you can manage into a simple, low-cost investment like an index fund. The absolute magic is compounding over time. Your money earns returns, and then those returns start earning returns. It snowballs. Someone starting at 25, investing just $100 a month, could potentially have over $500,000 by retirement, assuming average market returns.
Wow.
Yeah, the earlier you start, the more decades your money has to grow. It's not about timing the market perfectly. It's about time in the market. Just get started.
And for getting a clear overview, like a quick diagnosis of where your money's going, I love this idea of the golden ratio. Can you explain that?
Yes. The golden ratio is a really neat framework. Simple, but powerful. You figure out what percentage of your gross income is going to three places. The past, that's debt payments, excluding your mortgage. The present, current lifestyle stuff, housing, food, bills, fun money. And the future savings and investments. Calculating this gives you a snapshot. Maybe a healthy ratio is like 10-15% past, 50-60% present, 20-30% future. If your past number is huge, you know debt is the priority. If your future is tiny, you need to boost savings. It's a great little diagnostic tool.
Okay, so if constantly buying stuff, chasing that next treat often leads to anxiety, doom spending, maybe even unhappiness,
Yeah.
how do we redefine treat yourself? How do we find ways to feel good, rewarded, happy, that are genuine and lasting, not just that quick sugar high that leaves you crashing?
That's getting to the heart of it, isn't it? What actually is happiness? And the research, the wisdom suggests that real happiness is deeper and slower and more stable than just fleeting pleasure. It doesn't usually come from buying things. It comes from things like quality relationships and a sense of actual accomplishment. Buying something gives you that little buzz, sure, that dopamine hit, but it rarely delivers deep, sustained contentment. The joy is often in the wanting, the getting, then it fades fast. Lasting happiness, that comes from different sources.
Deeper, slower, and more stable happiness. I love that framing.
Yeah.
So how do we shift towards that kind of fulfillment, especially when everything around us screams, buy more? Our online community actually had some fantastic ideas for genuine treats that don't cost a fortune, things that tap into that deeper joy. A lot of people talk about productive hobbies, making things with your hands, pottery, knitting, cooking, fixing something broken.
Yes, that sense of creation.
Totally. Or even just mending clothes. There's this real satisfaction, this sense of accomplishment in creating something or restoring something. It's a pride that buying something off the shelf just doesn't give you, like fixing your favorite socks. That feels good.
That feeling of mastery, of self-sufficiency, it's incredibly rewarding, and it directly pushes back against that throwaway culture we talked about.
Another huge one, community and connection. Actively building relationships. Join a club, a sports team, host a potluck, have friends over for board games.
Yes! So important.
Right. Consumer culture also tries to convince us that buying something can fill the gap where community should be. But it can't. Nurturing real connections. That's a source of deep, lasting happiness.
It taps into our fundamental nature. We're social creatures. Belonging is a core need that no amount of shopping can truly fulfill.
And let's not forget the power of simple, inexpensive pleasures. Stuff that's accessible right now. Enjoying a nice sugar scrub you made yourself. Taking time for nail care at home. Making a perfect PB&J sandwich while watching a comfort show. Dancing in your kitchen. Watching cute animal videos online. Cooking a favorite meal from scratch. Borrowing books or movies from the library instead of buying. These are real moments of joy that cost little or nothing.
Absolutely. It's often in those small, present moments where genuine, accessible happiness lies. It's about appreciation, not constant striving for the next purchase.
My absolute favorite suggestion from the community was this idea: treat yourself with time. Actually dedicating time to things like reading a book in the park, sitting quietly at the beach, taking a guilt-free nap, a long bubble bath, gardening. As one person put it so well, if I keep buying crap I don't need, then I can't afford these relaxing moments.
That's powerful.
It really is. It's about choosing experiences, relaxation, personal growth over just more stuff. Time is the ultimate non-renewable resource. Using it for genuine self-care. That's the real treat.
Ultimately, it's about redefining what treat yourself means to you. Maybe shifting the mindset from treat yourself with consumption to respect yourself. Respect yourself enough to build that fat savings account, to achieve financial security. Respect yourself and the planet enough to make noble choices, reducing waste, consuming more consciously. There's a great thought from The Point magazine here. It's about realizing that work has to be put in, to not constantly work toward happiness, to not get so caught up in our own future satisfactions that we miss the ones that come to us now. It's about finding joy right here, right now, in sustainable choices and real connections, not just in the endless pursuit of the next thing to buy. Hashtag, tag, tag, outro.
Wow. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive into the treat yourself economy, let's just quickly hit the highlights, the key takeaways. We've unpacked this whole treat yourself culture, how it often pushes impulsive spending over long-term goals. We dug into the psychology, behavioral economics, those sneaky cognitive biases like recency and confirmation bias, hurting, even doom spending linked to anxiety. We looked at the real-world impact, the common money mistakes young adults face, the burden of debt, how things have changed generationally, and that growing issue of waste. But crucially, we also explored powerful strategies, mastering delayed gratification, mindful spending techniques like budgeting and the pause principle, concrete steps to build a strong financial foundation.
And all this really leads to a bigger question, something to mull over after you stop listening. As you move forward, really think about the lasting impact of your financial choices, not just on your bank account, but on your overall well-being, your peace of mind, even the world around you. Because true wealth, it isn't just about how much you have, it's really about how consciously you live, how you connect your money to your values, your community, your future.
So our challenge to you this week is this. Think about it. What lasting joy can you cultivate that doesn't come in a box or require a subscription? How can you genuinely treat yourself in a way that nourishes your deeper self, your long-term happiness, not just that fleeting buzz? We would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. Join the conversation. Find our community online. Share your own treat-yourself stories, the good, the bad, the ingenious workarounds. Let's talk about navigating this whole modern consumer world together. Thanks so much for diving deep with us today. Until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and make smart choices for your financial future.